Greetings, everybody. It's the 17th of March when you'll be watching this. I'm probably going to have it published sometime in the morning tomorrow. So this is my overdue video, where my day overdue video reading of my paper, MCM, Mass Childhood Maltreatment, as the Future of Industrial Democracy. I've been doing this series for several weeks now. I'm beginning Chapter 3 now. We'll get through about half of Chapter 3. All but one of the subsections. The last one is going to be a very long one, and it's going to be very pertinent, so look out for that one. I will try to get it out by Sunday at 3 o'clock. Not 3 o'clock, 3:30. That's my normal schedule for these. And I apologize for having not already done that. I apologize for that too, but it's quite warm in this room. Very warm for March, and humid as well. So, anyway, I got through my apology, so let me. I did. By the way, the reason why I'm so late is because I did a bunch of work on the house that made me quite tired. And I also had to do research because the actual text of the paper was not quite complete. But it is complete now, and I feel like it's ready for me to publish it in video form. The document is available, by the way. It's available in the description of my playlist. I try to put it in every single one of the videos as well. And it has all of the citations. If you want to see the citations, just go there. But it's a living document, and it is not completely perfect. If I am going to put something together, usually by the next day after I publish a video, I will have any material that I have there cited. If it isn't already, I have all of the links and everything, and I'm ready to cite them properly. So, with all of that ado, I will tell you if you want to skip. It's in the if you have wanted to skip, you can skip here. It's in the description. 3 minutes and 20 seconds roughly. And God bless you. Chapter 3. MCM as a danger to society. Damage to civil society. The termination of the unionized air traffic control employees in 1981 by Ronald Reagan can be seen as a turning point in labor relations and the power of civil society in general. The number of strikes in the U.S. fell by almost 2/3 in the 7 years after that strike was broken. In searching for historical reasons why this happened, or for that matter, why Reagan and other neoliberals were ever elected in the first place, it is useful to see who was entering the workforce at the time of Reagan's inauguration. A person born in the year 1966 would turn 15 in the year that Reagan was inaugurated, and for 1963, 18. There are certainly other causes for the switch to neoliberalism, but considering the rise of these politics in economies as different as the United States, UK, and West Germany, it is useful to consider what they shared, and it is reasonable to consider that mass child neglect is one of these shared phenomena, as the antecedents to it are known to be present in all of these countries. most Western countries. According to Robert Putnam's Bowling Alone, other measures of social participation, such as voter turnout, fell by almost 20 points between 1960 and 1990. Although turnout has risen since then, the quality of civic participation also matters, as will be discussed later on in this paper. Next video. Between 1980 and 2000, the average number of social engagements hosted by the average person dropped from 15 to 6, almost by half, and social trust, as measured by the polls, dropped by 2/3. Opinion polls. Research has shown correlations, one of which includes a dose-response relationship between voter turnout, other forms of social participation, and childhood trauma. Rent-seeking, dysfunctional economics. The rise of neoliberal economics is significant because it is the main culprit behind the industrial decline and environmental damage that we've seen over the past decades, and creates a vicious cycle of corruption. For instance, median wages having not risen, indeed using consistent apples-to-apples measures of inflation they have fallen, is a consequence of neoliberal economics. This phenomenon of denial by people in power will be examined further later in the section. Neoliberal economics has also been stubbornly hard to remove from the political system, especially in the United States. Though there were relatively minor and ultimately insufficient efforts in the aftermath of January 6th, in light of the danger of popular discontent, this has still come with strong political resistance. The economic changes described have been less severe in nations that already had strong, well-protected social safety nets by 1980, supporting the idea that the reason for the rise in neoliberalism was a failure in civic engagement, and that the reason why European states did not fall as spectacularly to neoliberalism, instead of being that they had less of a fall in civic engagement, for instance, because they were intrinsically superior to the United States, that they happened to have their protective institutions in place earlier than the United States. As an example, only 3 of the 27 EU plus 4 countries, Spain, Iceland, and Switzerland, with a total population of less than 1/7 of the EU population, achieved universal health coverage during the 20-year period from 1980 to 2000. Escalating political corruption. The 2024 Freedom House report has the United States, the country arguably most ravaged and least resistant against the pathologies described in this paper, scored 82 as the 61st freest country in the world, a report released months before the results of the most recent election. It was in the bottom quartile of fully free countries in its score. They released an analysis several years earlier explaining the long-term causes of the decline in their ranking for the United States. Among these are a rise in political corruption. This is indicated by a long-term decline in citizen responsiveness to government, which declined in gross terms from 63% to 55% during between the 1960 to 79 period and the 1980 to 1993 period. In a 2014 study, the response rate of policy to public opinion had declined further to 30%. More importantly, the relationship between public policy approval and policy on a scatter plot was at r equals 0.04, which is below the threshold of significance, aka there's no relationship by that point between how much the public likes something and policy. It's a complete C shoot. Anyway, the rising rates of political corruption have been observed to lead to gridlock and an inability of government to create essential reforms. They also make government less transparent. There is a reason why economic statistics from regimes which are undemocratic or highly corrupt are mistrusted. The statistics are usually inflated in order to make the records of administrators and leaders look better and to encourage foreign investment. Our dollar-denominated top-line economic statistics are almost all calculated by methods which adjust for inflation, which makes it extremely easy to corrupt almost all of these statistics at once. Only unemployment is immune to this. While no criminal intent has been proven in the Office of Management and Budget, which calculates such statistics, the criteria have clearly been changed in a lopsided way that systemically undercounts inflation, such as in the substitution of cheaper alternatives such as home cooking for restaurant meals in the transition from the CPI for 1 year to the following year. Whatever we think about the purchasing power needed to eat out, it is certainly not equivalent in real terms to that required to cook at home, and to use a substitution like that on a statistic that is involved in calculating wages, benefits, and GDP statistics is at least irresponsible. The end result has been an understatement of about 2 percentage points, enough to wipe out the official economic gains from 2009 to 2019. In other words, though the OMB would not agree, there was no economic growth according to the report mentioned in the entire period from 2009 to 2019. My hypothesis about the origin of this corruption is that the institutions of accountability, from the FTC to trade unions and other organizations which enforce the law against business, and the civil service in general, were starved of the staffing that they need to run effectively. There is already evidence of a decline in civic participation during this period, which I believe is caused by childhood trauma and its prevalence. Damage to innovation. In the current ecological moment, with the necessity of a long overdue energy transition, there could be nothing more dangerous to our continued functioning than a loss of innovation. Yet behind the glamour of the computing revolution, that seems to be what is happening. This is most evidenced in the fields where the influence of computers is least apparent. For instance, average fuel economy has stagnated since the 1980s, and the construction industry, an industry which is impossible to outsource and dependent on a high volume of medium-skilled labor, has been losing productivity for 50 years. While the number of U.S. patents increased during the 1980s and 90s, the rate of applications for foreign patents by U.S. companies, which should be proportional to the U.S. rate under a hypothesis of increased innovation, followed a continued negative trend, indicating a global decline in innovation, which is also visible in the United States. Instead, a rent-seeking explanation in which companies focus on extracting value from existing intellectual capital rather than creating new intellectual capital, is more likely. In the same study, the majority of the technology classes shown did not see a surge in patenting, which indicates that what innovation did take place over the course of the 1990s and through to 2014 was not distributed across all of the sectors of our economy, but was concentrated in a few sectors such as biotechnology and computing. At any time in history, it would be toxic for a society to lose its ability to innovate. But at the current moment, in which our whole society is balanced on an energy foundation that is not merely unsustainable, but is actively killing us, is an existential risk. The emissions caused by global warming, that cause global warming by warming the atmosphere, threaten the coastal lands we live on, the grasslands which grow our food, the forests which make our air breathable, and could spin out of our control through the melting of the permafrost. I will see you again for the rest of this chapter next week. But it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a big case study. Matthias of a neo-Nazi. And this will be all about our current politics. And you'll probably learn a lot from it. In any case, God bless you in the meantime. I hope that I hope that as much goes good in the meantime. I will see you on Saturday with a fireside chat. And I will see you again on next Sunday at 3:30, hopefully, with a video with another reading from this book. And in the meantime, God bless you and this whole country. Take care. Bye.